tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
All right, good evening, folks. I think I need to make a little bit of an adjustment here to my camera. Look at that. It's a little close. Let me just move my desk up. There we go. Soon we're going to have a permanent solution to the camera. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Big shout out to everyone who participated in our roundtable discussion at 2 o'clock today. We had some fantastic representatives from the international media and local media. We had Wendy Ledger from CNS. We had former Cayman 27 reporters, Joe Avery, as well as Kevin Watler. So thank you for both of them for joining in the discussion. Mr. Kenneth Bryan joined us a little bit late. And then we had some people from Jamaica. So we had Carla, all the names, Kate, Chappelle, Zara. So quite a few people. If you guys missed it, please go back and watch that video, because we were talking about the changing face of media in the Cayman Islands and beyond. So we are seeing some very interesting things happening locally. Cayman Compass, my apologies, have implemented a paywall. So when you go to their website, it appears to be one of those things where you pay after you visited like so many amount of times. I don't know what that is. We did send them some questions for clarity, and we just need to review those, and then we're going to get back to you guys with exactly what they had to say. But it's with a very heavy heart that I'm even having to do this show this evening, because, you know, we got some really sad news earlier this morning that a young man had, not a young man, but that a gentleman's wife had passed away after he had requested back in May his COVID funds. So he's going to be joining us, and let me just get him going. So it's kind of with a very heavy heart that we have to have this discussion. Now, you guys know for quite some time we've been talking about Fidelity. Oh God. And we have not been easy on Fidelity. And so now we see, you know, I was out there protesting with a few people. Now we see the importance of why Fidelity needed to follow the law. So let me just give you guys a little bit of background. I see some of your comments already coming in. So basically, this wise man got COVID in the Philippines. And in order to get her to a better medical facility, to be able to pay for his ticket to get his way home, he needed his pension funds, and he applied back in May. Fidelity, we're now in the month of September. So April, May, June, July, August, September. So some 6 months. And remember, initially they had a 45-day window when they were supposed to be doing payouts. Now we're 6 months later. Fidelity just today, after they were contacted that his wife died of COVID, they finally got around to releasing his pension money. This is like, seriously, I had said before that Fidelity needed to be, someone from Fidelity, Brett Hill or whoever, needs to be sent to jail. And listen, if I hadn't made that clear before, I cannot think of anything worse than what this man is now having to deal with. They could be very well, I mean, no one can say with any degree of certainty, but had his wife gotten to a better facility, she could have been saved. And he didn't have the money to do that because he was waiting on Fidelity to pay his money, to pay his pension money, which is his money, so that he could turn around and get to the Philippines, get her to a better facility. I cannot tell you how upset this makes me. This is just absolutely shocking and unbelievable. And when I heard it this morning, I thought to myself, it's so surreal. Like, it doesn't even sound like it could be real. I'm like, what? How does this happen? Well, folks, this sort of thing happens when people don't care to follow the law, when corporations get away with breaking the law, and everybody else would be penalized if you did a fraction of what Fidelity has done. It is disturbing. It is wrong. And we're hoping that he's going to be able to join us. Of course, you have to appreciate the fact that right now he is dealing with the horrible tragedy of losing his wife. Just today, he got the word. So if he's able to make it, we are expecting him. But if not, you could certainly understand. Unbelievable. So now he is under a bit of a mad rush to try to find funding in order to get his ticket. So when they finally paid, now he's got to purchase his ticket out of that, as well as make arrangements to go straight to the Philippines. Now, I don't know how he's going to do that because, as you guys know, the air bridge flights are no longer available. Because remember, they left months ago, the few flights that they had to get people between here and the Philippines. So how he will get back to the Philippines now, I'm not even really sure what route he'll be taking. I mean, Cayman Airways, I suppose, will have some Miami outbound flights that he could potentially take. But it's just absolutely shocking, you know? And this is why we need to have in place proper legislation and enforceable legislation. It doesn't make any sense to have legislation on our books that cannot be enforced, will not be enforced, and these companies can get away with literally murder. So this man's wife has died. And, you know, I can't say if she would have died or not, but certainly his ability to put her in a better facility would have given her a fighting chance. Because in some countries, the facility will make all of the difference in the world and whether or not you recover from something. So Andine, good evening to you, expressing her disappointment and obviously very upset. Andine, we all here share your sentiments and shock. It is quite unbelievable. So they are working on getting him on the line for us. Vanessa says, all this time he's been waiting on his pension money to save his wife. I don't get it. Well, what's missing? I'm not sure what you don't get. So he needed his pension money to be able to buy a ticket to go back home, to be able to afford to put her in another facility. The part that I don't get is, why hasn't something been done about Fidelity? Why are their doors Fidelity Pension? Why are their doors still open for anything else but giving people their pension money? So there are people still in May who applied in May, and here we are now in September, 6 months later, who have not received their money. Now, someone sent me a message the other day, and I thought for a second, this cannot be right. This has to be some misinformation. But once again, it was about Fidelity. And of course, Fidelity Pension was claiming that, they had paid out, made all sorts of payouts and whatever. Now I think they're claiming that, it's going to happen this month. So they put up a story that says Fidelity Pension confirms payment of applications. President and country head for RF Group's base plan pension confirmed today. So that was last week. What day was the 3rd? That was last week, Thursday, that all applications for participants who had successfully applied for withdrawals from Fidelity Pension since May 1st had been paid. This is what this man is claiming. Claiming that certain applications in July were still outstanding, depending on when the application was received or what the method of payment was. But it seems like this is a lie. The irony of it is, when this person sent me this message last week, they said that's a bold-faced lie. This is exactly what they said. This is a lie. There's a Caymanian I know who did not get his pension, even though he applied in mid-May. And FYI, Fidelity put out a press release with Georgetown spelled wrong and lying to people. And this Caymanian gentleman needs his pension funds. Anything you can do to help, or can you make a story about it or a post about how Fidelity is lying? He will send you the email showing you how he applied if that's necessary. So, unbelievable. But it seems like this person has a point. Because if they didn't receive their pension money, here's another gentleman now who hasn't received his pension money. I am more inclined to believe the people who haven't received their money than the company who hasn't paid out. And to think that they would post something up on social media claiming that all payments have been made for people who applied in May, and that isn't the case, the question then begs, who are they trying to deceive? Seriously. Aliano said he doesn't have much there, but he's going to pull out everything out of that pension corporation. So I don't blame you, Aliano, because, at the end of the day, this is the kind of thing that makes you realize what type of companies you're dealing with. And the fact that if they can do this under these circumstances, all of a sudden they could rush and do the payout today once they found out that his wife had died. And in fact, someone said that he'd gone there this morning and they had refused to speak with him. But I guess the word spread quickly that his wife had passed away. Unbelievable. So we're trying to get a hold of him. We may have to give him a call. Delmy, listen, I cannot explain what has gone wrong with Fidelity, what they've done wrong, why some people got paid out and others didn't. All I know is it remains a fact that there are people who are still waiting some 6 months later. And remember what they first told us? Oh, everyone would be paid by the end of June, they claimed. Now it's September. The emergency pension provisions went in place on May the 1st. And here we are now in the month of September. And still, people who applied in May are waiting to receive their pension money. This is unbelievable. Norma says to sue them, and I don't even know what grounds you'd sue them on, to be quite frank. But nothing now will bring this man, his wife, back. She's dead. Folks, the woman has died. Let me see if I can get a hold of him, because I think he might be having some issues getting on. Esley says this is happening because our government allows it. Yep. There's no other explanation. Why health insurance or NA? You couldn't help him. I don't think that they're going to help someone who's in the Philippines. So they couldn't help move his wife to another facility. Right? I mean, the bare minimum they might do here is help him with some expenses here, but that wasn't the issue. The issue is he needed to send money back home in order to change the facility that she was at so that she could be put into a facility that offered better care. And unfortunately, that did not happen. So Gary confirms that he applied for May the 8th for his pension money from Fidelity and still hasn't been paid. And he's hearing a lot of bull from them when he goes by there. Sue says, sue the bank. Well, remember, the bank has sold the pension company. So the bank is saying they have nothing to do with the pension company anymore. Although, well, based on what we read in their statement, Brent Hill, who is the president and country head of RF Group, which owns the pension company, and I'm not sure, but I believe also the insurance company. But they're separate from the bank. So the bank doesn't want any part of this anymore. They have actually sold those entities. Hi, Miss Janet. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, he finally got his money today, but again, the wife is dead. So no amount of money at this point is going to help bring her back. Let me just see if I can give him a call, because for some reason, so just give me 1 second, folks. I'm going to attempt to call him on the phone to see if I'm able to reach him. Claire, good evening to you, my dear. Hi, Dean. Evelyn, good night. Hi, Louie. Elvis, thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, did I miscount the months? May? What month are we in? May, June, July, August, September. Where did I get 6 months from? Hi, Mr. Robert. Yes, this is Sandra. How are you? I was trying to send you the link on WhatsApp to join us on the show. Are you able to get the link? But it says you don't have WhatsApp on this phone. Can you, I'm gonna just send you my WhatsApp number. Can you send me a WhatsApp message and then I'll reply with the link. Okay, all right, dear, thank you. All right, so we're having a little bit of technical issues getting him. So let's just see if we can. If we can get him on WhatsApp, then we can send him the link. It might be that he has a different WhatsApp number, like a lot of us do, actually. All right, so we'll see if Mr. Robert can come on. Obviously, he is very distraught at just losing his wife, much less having to deal with all of this. But yes, I'm sorry, Perla. I don't know how my months, I don't know how I counted 6 months. May, June, July, August, September. That's 4 months, yes. But it might as well have been an eternity, like seriously. It's certainly not 45 days. It's more like, how many days? 30, 60, that's 120 days? So they're asking people what they're going to be doing with their money. That's none of their business. But yes, they were more concerned about if we were going to be spending our money on TV systems, big screen TVs. That's what he said, remember? Insulting people sitting in the Legislative Assembly. And now we see that people needed their money for a lot of legitimate reasons, including assisting sick family members overseas. So yes, Perla, our condolences to him and his family. What is the government pension board doing? Suzette, that, my friend, is the $1 million question. If we knew the answer to that, it would be amazing. They have not said a word. Months ago, about 2 months ago, they said they were compiling a file for the legal department. And this is why I said to everyone, if you're still waiting on your money, you have not contacted the DLP, which is the Department of Labor and Pensions, to lodge an official complaint against Fidelity, you need to make sure that you do so. Because every single complaint matters, because remember now, they are supposed to be paying a fine at the very minimum per infraction. And every single infraction the government will not know anything about, sorry, if they do not have your complaint, if you've not emailed them. So this is why it is so incredibly important to send that information, whether it's just a quick email, across to the Department of Labor and Pensions. So we're trying to get Mr. Robert on the line so he can tell us more details about what transpired. Tasha says that people don't even have the funds to sue Fidelity. They're still waiting on money. So what are they going to do? I don't know, Sue, how Mr. Brett Hill can possibly sleep at night. I guess his money offers him a lot of cushioning in his pillow. But if he has a conscience, I certainly hope that tonight he's sleeping, if he sleeps at all, he is sleeping very, very heavily. Because this is one of the worst things that I've heard in a very long time. Good evening, my dear. How are you? I agree, Natasha. A big hefty fine. Yep, 160 days has gone by, over 160 days, over 4 months now, and lock him up I agree 120%. So Gary wants to know, where's the money? Well, the pension company is supposed to have their own money. They're a separate legal entity. They have supposedly invested the people's money, and they needed to pull it out of these investment funds. A lot of people are asking, if they were liquid, if they had the money. Well, they needed to find the money. And Mr. Brent Hill never said that the company had any issues paying it out in terms of liquidity. What he blamed was all sorts of other things. So the processes, they weren't expecting so many applications. It was all like administrative stuff. They were supposed to hire a PR company. They were supposed to do this. They were supposed to do that. So they were still finding enough money to do all of those things. Supposedly, because I don't think they've hired a PR company. Because honestly, what has the PR company done for them? I mean, they haven't helped them get it together. The big time IT company they claimed they were hiring, what have they done? So I'm shocked. I'm beyond shocked. I'm beyond just disgusted by this whole situation. And so I don't even know at this stage what to do. Joseph is thankful that his company has nothing to do with Fidelity. Let us see if we can get Mr. Robert back. I don't know if he's not able to get a connection, but maybe we can just do a phone interview with him. Okay, so we're not able to reach him back. I mean, you can understand that certainly he must be having quite a moment. And I was saying to someone, that, even if we as a community had to come together and assist him with a ticket back home, this was before they finally paid out this afternoon, that maybe we could see about doing that. But then I received a phone call that he had finally gotten the money deposited to his account. Yeah, so Natasha is just clarifying about who PSPB is, which this isn't DLP, which is the Department of Labor and Pensions. They're the ones who are responsible for private pensions. So they are the government entity responsible for private pensions, and they are the ones who claimed that they were preparing a case file for the legal department, which we have not yet received any ruling on. So again, those of you who just tuned into the program, we were hoping to get Mr. Robert on with us this evening, but of course we know that he's having a very difficult time. His wife passed away earlier today. He received word of that, that his wife had passed away after she had fallen ill with COVID. He was trying to access his pension funds, and one of the things that he wanted to do with that money was to actually put his wife in a better healthcare facility, a better hospital in the Philippines, so that she could receive the best possible care. And the bottom line is, folks, a lot of times the lack of money in these countries will mean that you receive less than quality health care. So the more money you have, the better doctors you can access, the more public or private, my apologies, hospitals and facilities that you can access. So, the Cayman Islands, I think, is fortunate in that regard, that for the most part, It doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have, you're going to get somewhat equal treatment. But in a lot of these countries, the treatment you receive is directly connected to what you can afford to pay. And you guys saw this. We posted this up, I think it was over the weekend. In the US, there are people who are getting $1 million, 1.9 million for one guy, bill from receiving COVID treatment. So one guy in Plantation, Florida, he was saying how he is thinking he might go bankrupt after struggling his entire life to pay his bills and do all the right things. He came down with COVID and spent 45 days in the hospital. 20 of those days was on a ventilator fighting for his life. And after celebrating briefly the fact that he had been released and he was going to make some sort of recovery because he's still struggling with a lot of health issues, he was just thankful to be out. And then he gets his bill for $1 million. Imagine. And he's trying to figure out how they're going to pay this $1 million bill. And folks, here's the shocker. This is the big United States of America. Plantation, Florida is right there. And that is $1 million bill, even with insurance coverage. So imagine what the heck is going on there. He still has to go ongoing physical and occupational therapy. There was another gentleman. So unfortunately, this couple is not unique. 70-year-old Michael Floor of Seattle, Washington, was hit with a 181-page, $1.1 million bill after spending 62 days hospitalized at the Swedish Medical Center in Washington. It contained over 3,000 itemized charges, and his ICU room ran about $9,700 per day. So when we sit here and complain about the cost of not Medicare, but medical services in the Cayman Islands, people need to realize that it's ridiculous in other places as well. And the US appears to be one of those places. There was another guy, Salvatore Mazzara, 48 years old. He spent 44 days at Mount Sinai in New York. 23 of those were spent in intensive care. And he owed a whopping $1.9 million. Just round that up to $2 million, folks. Absolutely ridiculous. Only 48 years old. Spent 6 weeks in the hospital. Kidney failure, lung issues. During that time, he saw 350 physicians, nurses. The priest came to visit him because they're about to write him off. They thought he was a goner. Social workers, nutritionists, all these people, 350. Debbie says, what recourse legally can this member have? I mean, probably nothing, to be honest. How do you prove in law that they are directly responsible for the passing of his wife? We're saying that we're pretty sure had she been able to get to a better facility, she maybe could have survived this. She would have had a better chance of fighting. But I'm afraid in the court of law, that's not going to be good enough. So this is what happens. We're all stuck with poor service, poor customer service, poor, just all around service. And there are no consequences for when these businesses do what they do. They do whatever to us. They treat us like second, third, fourth, fifth class citizens. And the only recourse that we have is for our governments who are putting the laws in place, claiming that they're enforceable. The only recourse we have is for them to do something to help the people. And if that isn't happening, as Caribbean people would say, dog, eat your supper. And that's exactly what is happening. We have no one looking out for us. And these are the types of issues here that on Cayman Mar Road we are trying to highlight. We're trying to bring to the forefront. Because there are too many people in this country who are living in a state of denial. I say it again. I said it before and I'm going to say it again. Which of our politicians has spoken out about the manner in which Fidelity has handled pension plans, handled the payouts, the lack thereof? It has been ridiculous and completely unacceptable. And yet we have heard no elected official. I want to be very clear. They will all give you a convenient excuse about, oh, well, they're just going to sit back and wait for the DLP to handle it. Wait for it to be taken care of legally. What's the point of having, right, your representatives there and available if all they want to do is wait on the system to work, the system that they put in place, which clearly does not work? If it worked so well, Brent Hill would not have been standing in front of them and standing in front of the Public Accounts Committee saying all of these ridiculous things that he was saying. So how well can it work? The system is broken, folks. And by and large, we have elected officials who are okay with a broken system. They have the most time in the world to write press release after press release about the LGBTQ civil partnership debate. They have more than enough time in the world to send out messages begging for prayer, right? For godly intervention with the governor on this topic. Have they asked for any intervention as it relates to our pension plan and the fact that we have organizations such as Fidelity Pension who has ignored the law to such a degree? Not a single one. This is what I'm talking about, right? They're hyper-focused on one issue, and the only issue that seems to get any of their attention, that they can debate, that they can make statements on, that they can talk about, they can do videos, they can send out voice notes. It's like, give me a break here, folks. So nothing else matters. That's pretty much what I'm hearing. Nothing else matters to our legislators. Why are we electing these people that have a one-track mind? Child abuse, they've never prayed about. They've never sent out a voice note saying how upset they are about that. I cannot imagine what Mr. Robert is going through. And I mean, I think that all we can do at this stage is to keep him in our prayers. We're going to try to find out if he needs any financial assistance additionally, because I don't know how much his pension fund was. But obviously now that money is going to be used to try to at least in part bury his wife, and again, without any further details on what sort of expense is incurred. He's got to buy a ticket. He has to go home. It's a real shame. It's a shame that anyone should have been put under that level of stress and then lose a loved one. Dean, this is beyond just justice. I mean, there should be a public outcry so loud. We should be protesting on the steps of Fidelity again. And every one of you should be speaking out on this issue. But as usual, we would organize a protest and 5 people are going to show up if we're lucky, 10 people if we're super lucky. And that's it. So we will get no better in this country because we're not expecting any better from our legislatures. We're not demanding any better from them. They're not holding anyone accountable. And so it just becomes a vicious cycle from one to the next. We are under attack in this country, folks, and by and large, it's happening from within. Our own government, the companies that have come here and made millions of dollars on the backs of the Caymanian people. Brent Hill probably came here with the underpants that he had on. I'm sure he came from nothing in the UK, wherever he hails from. And he has come here now and he can get in the Legislative Assembly and tell our representative officials how he has the largest pension in his own pension fund. And he is so secure financially that he's not going to be touching his. He doesn't have to touch it. I'm sure it's at least $500,000. And he has absolutely no need to touch it. Well, you know what? If you're a company that still has your money with Fidelity Pension, might I encourage you, maybe you're not going to come out and protest in the streets with us. Maybe you won't do that. But you can protest in another way that, in fact, is probably more meaningful to these companies. Protest with your movements of your money, right? Sometimes all they care about is the big dollar sign, the big fat checks that they're making. And if you all deal with Fidelity Pensions accordingly, his 500 million plus that he has in the pension fund will soon be down to a big fat zero. Evelyn, thank you so much. I think this man, at this particular time, paying up, he has to do, it's the law. But there has to be more to this than just forcing them to pay up, which they have to do anyway. There has got to be someone going to jail. And I'm hoping that the DLP's office, the DPP's office, who has a lot of time to haul people in court for the most frivolous of things, should now be looking at a way to tag on this charge or this information to any charges that are pending, so that when it comes time for a judge to know the real impact that non-payment has had on the lives of people, that they can now fully understand the implications of Fidelity not paying pension in a timely manner. Unfortunately, Mr. Robert doesn't look like he's going to be joining us. So I can't say how long his wife was in the hospital for, or exactly how sick she was. But what I can say is this is unacceptable on so many levels. It really upsets me, to be quite frank and honest, that this has happened to anyone. And poor Mr. Robert will now be trying to make arrangements to get off island so that he can return to the Philippines and be in a position to actually bury his wife. That's his reality right now. That's what he's dealing with. Meanwhile, Mr. Brent Hill, still sitting nicely in his house, hasn't been arrested for a single offense, No charges have yet been filed. He's still got his $500,000 in his pension fund and still probably making at least 12 grand a month with no issues. Now, you guys explain to me how this makes any sense, how this could possibly be okay. You know, there's such a sense of injustice in this country sometimes. And it's situations like this that demonstrate, especially when it comes to the rich versus the people who do not have. You know, the whole idea behind allowing people to access their emergency pension funds was to get that money with a sense of urgency so that they could use it. Mr. Brent talking about, oh, they needed 30 days, they needed 60 days, is what he said to government. Well, look at it this way. They have had double that amount of time that he originally claims in the Legislative Assembly that they had told the LA that they needed. So they've had over 160 days, and still there are people who are waiting from May who have not been paid out. What is this man talking about? What was he talking about? 60 days? It's now 160 plus days, and absolutely nothing has been done. There are still people without their pension money. And those people are struggling to pay bills, struggling to eat, who knows? Struggling to send loved ones to better medical care facilities. That we do know. So today is September the 8th. We are all starting to think about the next election. May 2021 is right around the corner. And we need to start thinking about some change for this country. We need representatives who are not just of a one-track mind, but representatives who believe in giving you, the people, a voice. One of the reasons that they elected you is for them to have your back, even if they're not part of the ruling government, because a lot of the opposition feels like, well, we can't get anything done. You can get a lot done if you use your voice. Trust me, I should know. If you stand up on behalf of the people and you express yourself and you express how disheartened you are with a situation, and you call out some of these entities on their behavior, it will draw the necessary attention to the situation and agitate for change in such a way that change will come. It's kind of like the situation with the port. Johan Moxham, Shirley Rolston, and others galvanized their resources. A small group of people went up against the Goliath, right? The government, who has a bottomless pit when it comes to money and resources. They can hire the best QCs in the world to argue their legal points and to run us, the people, into the ground. All of these things are available to them. Right? The people have very few that are fighting in their corner, but it only takes a handful of people to make a change. So those very few people were able to stop that port project, and thank God that they did, right before COVID hit. And so all of you have to recognize the power of your own voices, the power of our collective voices, So the more people you can get together in unison, sending the same message out there, the more likely we are to be able to agitate for change. And that is what this is all about, folks. So while Mr. Brent Hill was, rubbing it in about how he was going to go and have a drink with the premier of this country, we need to get to the point where we have representatives in legislative assembly who are willing to speak out at issues that concern us, not just a single issue. Speaking about the LGBTQ community, I could care less about what consenting adults are up to. But I do care that this man is now in a situation where he is mourning the loss of his wife. And he has had to basically lose her, and probably his whole world has turned upside down. I understand that unfortunately he's trying to get some of the travel forms, the emergency travel forms, completed on the Philippines government website so that he can make arrangements to leave Cayman as quickly as possible. So we totally understand. And he's trying to make arrangements and stuff for the funeral. We do understand that it would have been difficult for him to come on this evening, but we did want to hear from him in his own words what had transpired. Very sad situation. So for those of you who missed the media roundtable today, we were talking about a number of things in relation to that. And what I will say is you missed a good discussion. So I'll share the link here. By all means, go back and have a listen to that discussion. And I can't remember who it was that was saying that, a lot of times media is portrayed, or they tried to portray themselves as being impartial. Well, here at Cayman Mall Road, we're not lying to the people. We're not going to pretend to be impartial when we're not. And you know whose side of the equation we're on? We're on the side of the people, quite frankly. And I don't give a damn, and I don't care about politicians and how they feel about it. We have a duty to inform you, the people, and remind you of the facts of why some of those individuals do not deserve your vote and why they should not be in the Legislative Assembly. So we've got some time between now and May. And there will be people who I know are not going to be happy with the results of what we're going to do, but we're going to call a spade, folks. And if that offends you, then you're probably watching the wrong program. We are going to hold politicians accountable like they have never been accountable before or held accountable before. You guys need to look at their track record. And anyone who's deciding to throw their hat in the ring for the first time, good. We need some new blood. However, we're going to put you to task as well. Because you can't just come onto the arena, oh, I'm going to run for political office, and you've not done anything with your life. You have no accomplishments. You haven't done anything. We need to see what you're capable of. So this is exactly where we are going with this, folks. And if you don't like it, like I said, well, choose another platform. Juanita says that they're no good. Saying that someone got an email on Sunday, sorry. That person had an appointment to go on Monday, and the email said they couldn't get it. That person needs their money That's why they put the application in. Wow. It's like just playing constant games with the lives of people, and it's really unacceptable. Good evening, Andy. So tomorrow is Wednesday. We did not have a morning show this morning. My apologies, but because we were doing the 2-hour afternoon session, which we had to do it at 2 p.m. to accommodate people in the UK because of the time difference there, which would have been like around 8 o'clock their time. We were trying to accommodate a lot of different people. So we had, like I said, some people from Florida, Jamaica, the Caribbean, as well as the UK. And we really wanted to include those persons in from the UK in the program. So had I done the morning show, that would have been 2 hours and another 2 hours by 2 o'clock. And then this evening show, that would have been 5 hours of talking in the space of a 12-hour day. And even for me, that's a lot. So we decided to forego the morning show. Luna, good evening. Hola, ¿cómo estás? So tomorrow morning we should have a show. We will continue with some open mic discussions. I've just put the link in the comment section in case you did miss the show earlier today. And I know a lot of you guys are now back at work, so it's a bit more challenging for you to tune in for like a midday or 2 o'clock kind of show. So, go back and have a look at it. It was a really good program. There's a lot of great contributions. Wendy Ledger has expressed that, she would love for us to be able to do something on an ongoing basis, some sort of a collaboration. So we will certainly look into that. We don't mind collaborating with people. I think it's often a good idea. It brings a fresh perspective to the table. So I'm going to leave you guys there with those comments for this evening. And again, Mr. Robert, please know that I think he's saying he might be able to do it tomorrow morning. All right, so there's a possibility that he could come in the morning. So tune back in, folks. And we will see if we can get some additional details. So Josephine says, I know someone who applied and they sent an email saying, oh, sorry, you did not tick the specified CIUS. Please do so and resend so we can pay you. A month after, they sent another email saying, oh, your application has been refused because your signature doesn't match. Like, really, what the hell? Just pay the people Fidelity and stop stealing. Unbelievable. I mean, once you review the application one time, you would look for all of those things. And remember now, they had a certain amount of time in which they were supposed to review the application and get back to you. So if they passed the first 7 days was to acknowledge receipt of your application. The next 7 days was to tell you if you had gotten approved or not. And if that had not happened, then they needed to inform you at that stage if your application has or hasn't been approved. If they're not doing that, they're again not following the law. Oh, my gosh, it's unbelievable, folks. Absolutely unbelievable. So we're not sure yet. He's thinking he might be able to make it in the morning. So please do tune back in the morning and we'll see what we can work out with Mr. Robert. This is a tragic story. Mr. Brett Hill, honestly, if you had any sort of a conscience, which I'm doubtful such a thing exists for you, you would pay in full the man's travel to the Philippines, his funeral expenses for his wife, and give him a little extra for pain and suffering so that he doesn't even have to dip into his pension fund. That's the kind of thing you do if you have a conscience. But like I said, I'm certainly not going to hold my breath. Good evening, Miss Nancy. The beautiful Miss Nancy. I am not going to hold my breath for that to happen because it doesn't sound like Mr. Brett Hill has a conscience at all. What's going to be done? That's the $1 million question. We will reach out to the Department of Labor and Pensions to see if they have any updated information that we could possibly get from them on what is happening with the Fidelity investigation. Folks, as usual, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sorry that this show was a bit of a downer, but these are the things that are happening in our community. And unfortunately, it has to be addressed. Like I said, this is what your elected officials should be doing, addressing these hard questions, talking about the homelessness and other things that are impacting our lives. Stay tuned. God's willing, we'll be back here tomorrow morning at 7:15.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.